All right, now we'll shift to this side and we'll head over to the Mohawk Valley and listen to Dr. Robert Geer and Steve DeMeo.
Thanks very much, Governor. So, you've heard the Finger Lakes, Southern Tier, Central New York. What's very unique about the Mohawk Valley is it doesn't have, a dominant city. It's a region of centers. It's a region of communities and cities and towns. And so, this type of strategy has to reflect that. And so, in light of that, since this was a once-in-a-lifetime challenge, as the governor put it, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we needed a new approach for that, an approach which would really bring these 6 counties together. These 6 counties weren't always unified in the region. They didn't have that one urban center to build around. So what you see here after the several months that we've been undertaking preparation for the URI has been really an unprecedented coming together of a region. 6 counties, an initiative that was spearhead titled the MV 500. And has focused on bringing not only a particular group of stakeholders together, but all the stakeholders in all the counties. This was an effort spearheaded by county leadership who came to the table first, came to the REDC and said, we need to do this together. Together we've conducted over 300 personal interviews, over 1,000 survey respondents, scores of meetings, action groups, strategy groups, writing groups, narrative groups, coming together to put together a plan that doesn't just lift up a certain urban center, but lifts up the entire region. You heard Governor Cuomo refer to microeconomies. That's exactly what we have in the Mohawk Valley. And that's precisely what this effort has been about, to bring these people together. Now, a snapshot. We hear, and I've heard Howard discuss twice today, the challenges that occurred in Buffalo, not only 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but you could go back 5 decades, and the Mohawk Valley is no different. And they've weathered these challenges really alone, community by community. Over the last 5 years, especially with the help of the REDC and Governor Cuomo's vision for really going for a bottom-up, a grassroots type of economic strategy, definitely we've seen improvements in the region. And certainly working with University of Buffalo Research Institute and be able to go into a deeper dive, identifying where some of those pluses are, where the negatives exist, has been really critical in planning for this URI and building this strategy and building something that's achievable. And so I throw a few numbers up there, not to go through each one in detail, but to list. There absolutely have been successes. Unemployment down, household income up, global exports increasing dramatically for the region. But it also highlights, if you're going to have a strategy, where are the obstacles you need to overcome. This has been a region with a flat population. This has been a region where the poverty rate has increased in the metro areas. And those are pieces that this plan has to identify. Because since it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, at the end of this, you have to have not only some economic successes, but the goal of this is a self-sustaining economic growth model. That is, you take this injection once and you build on it from that point onward. So what the data is saying, just like all the other regions, we worked very close with the UBRI. It was a tremendous resource to have, certainly for a region like our own. And so in putting together this, essentially this plan, coming together with all the people we interviewed, all the surveys, all the stakeholders, all the leadership from the counties, from the communities, the business leaders, what was that data saying? In other words, what did we have to overcome? Because it wasn't going to be one magic project here and there, sort of following what we've already heard, but it's going to be a total solution for the region. Certainly, education was key. Being able to provide a better, more inclusive type of education for the region, getting the students that come out of our schools, come out of our colleges, so they can go into those areas of growth. And this is something very important for one of the smaller regions like Mohawk Valley. You be able to expand and establish those industries, they have to be at a critical size. You have to expand those industry clusters, STEM, that's a focus for our area, foster greater climate for innovation, because you need to have high wealth, high value creation jobs to overcome this poverty, to really make a difference and make a dent. And likewise, when we have so many people that are working at or within a few percentage points of the poverty level, being able to find a way to engage them and make them a valuable component of your workforce. So this data has provided really a key roadmap for us in terms of what our plan has to fix. This isn't just going to be a wonderful project here, an expensive project there. It has to address these problems. It has to solve these problems. So where do those strategies lead us? The key was a unified focus. All these meetings, all these discussions, all these fora, all these bringing together involved all the counties. Everyone was present, and I think that was the key. One of the first meetings we had was with Rich, with all the county leadership there. Not an easy thing for this region. But gathering this community input, we saw a number of the areas focus come out, whether they were interviews, whether they were in the surveys, whether they were from the focus groups, about the same types of areas that the REDC had been building a foundation for, which is really key. Pursuing, as Rob was saying, it's new technologies like UAS, unmanned aerial systems, really making a corridor across, really a singular corridor across the nation for that. Building on cyber technology, a strength of the region. Building on the new nanotech initiatives. You heard Governor Cuomo mention Nano Utica. Likewise, in building those key areas where that infrastructure exists, building an educated workforce there in the region that can support that. We heard about students. We want to keep our students, our engineers here. We also have to attract them. We have to make this a region that is a destination for this influx of talent, as well as the students that we have coming out of our institutions. And likewise, you've heard it, you're going to see hear the same message here, urban vibrancy, revitalizing our towns. This is where the people want to live. They have to come to a place where community they want to establish, they want to be in. And of course, collaboration and inclusion, especially important for the Mohawk Valley. You know, when Howard Zemsky and Rich Tobey introduced this initiative way back when it was cold, the marching orders were, go be the region you are, but just do it better. And in case of the Mohawk Valley, this collaboration and inclusion is extremely important. In the Utica City School District, more than 40 languages are spoken. We have refugees from more than 26 countries that call our region home. This is a resource. It's a young demographic. It's a growing demographic. It's one we have to be able to include. That's the critical challenge we have to solve if we're going to take these, innovative types of initiatives, innovative types of partnerships, and have them grow. So these, of course, were matched up. You know, what the community says, this very grassroots approach, is matched up with what the UBRI data and economic trends say. And it really highlights exactly what our strategy has to solve. We have 94,000 working individuals earning less than double the poverty line. So this is not just about more jobs. It's about high-paying jobs. It's about value. Those types of initiatives are key. Being able to essentially take our education and training infrastructure to be able to give those opportunities to the people in our region. That's going to be essential. And likewise, being able to pick out what you saw, but so much of what we saw today, as we were taking our tours around Buffalo, being able to see so much revitalization, being able to see block after block which had been repurposed. This is absolutely the need for the regions we have in the Mohawk Valley. And likewise, overcome the barriers for the displaced workers and hard-to-place workers. There are thousands of them. We have to provide that pathway. And so the strategies that came out of this process and that are being drafted and will be going public soon as they're reviewed by the REDC, certainly focusing on those STEM industries we mentioned. Agriculture, not because it's something that binds the region together, but it represents those microeconomies that are so critical for sustaining the towns and cities across the Mohawk Valley. Something that is innovation-based, that is education-based. Once again, high wage, high wealth, high value types of jobs. Tourism, very important for an area that includes places like Cooperstown and Old Forge. And of course, building our downtowns, not just one central area, but many cities and towns, making them a network of centers that people want to bring their families to. And of course, it all sounds good, but the question is, do you have the nuts and bolts in place to have that happen? And luckily, these strategies have been built, and organically so. Everything that our outreach has brought together has really built off what the REDC has been putting forward. And so this has been really an example of a shared vision. Taking these initial REDC investments, some which happened 4 years ago, building them so they support the efforts in cyber, the efforts in nano, the efforts in cybersecurity and cyber technology. Making these, essentially making these a foundation for transformation. And so we're seeing that now in terms of our chip commercialization centers, in our nano-MARCI efforts. So we're having the infrastructure in place for these partnerships. And we see the URI as a way to guarantee that we'll have that type of growth. So thanks very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Questions?
Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you. Nice job. Thanks very much. You mentioned the large international population. I'm aware of that, and we on the CIAT team are. We've discussed that for a couple of years. What kind of opportunities do you see for individuals living in metro areas with high poverty rates in the STEM industry?
I think the key for that is going to be, certainly in our case, is going to be a better engagement. And I mean that across the board. Certainly a better engagement in terms of what the career paths are. And that's not just, giving a leaflet at school. This is engaging, building that outreach network so that as students move through, whether it's K through 12, whether it's, 2 years, so forth, that they see that those opportunities are available in the region. Not only in the high-tech areas, but also in the manufacturing. Just as important is being able to have the training resources available. The P-TECH model, and the model where as you go through high school, you also come out with a 2-year degree, a 2-year training degree in applied science. This is a great model. Expanding that, not duplicated, expanding that so that works for our international students. Because you have to complement that with community engagement, being able to overcome those language difficulties. This is a very important component, and that workforce component is a primary axis, if you will, of what we're doing. This is essential. So as you're building that tech infrastructure, it's not just a closed-off building where you do that manufacturing. Its doors are open because you need to be able to engage the people in the region, the students, the parents for that matter, so that they see this as a place where they can go.
Mm-hmm.
I would just echo the comments of Dr. Guerra, but I would point out that we also have a unique opportunity in that the STEM jobs that exist today and the STEM jobs that are going to be created also lie in the areas with the highest need populations, where most of the poverty and where most of the working poor are. So I think we really have an opportunity there to be able to prepare people for career opportunities, to get them good paying jobs, and to help build better, sustainable communities.
Thanks.
I've got a question for you. It's really got to do with my fascination with drones. And I think it's amazing that we had 2 regions come together and work on this development. I guess it's going to make New York the drone capital at some point, right? What is it that you guys are doing in the Mohawk Valley that supports or complements what's happening in central New York? Explain that to us.
Well, I think the collaboration that's taken place is the recognition that both regions have the assets necessary to sustain an industry which has tremendous growth potential. In the Syracuse region, there is strong background in radar technologies at a number of companies. Over in the Mohawk Valley, we have some of those core capabilities, but we also have it in information technology, cybersecurity technology, and more importantly, we also happen to have a precious asset called Griffiths Business and Technology Park and Griffiths International Airport, which has the physical assets, the Air Force Research Laboratory, and it also has really a one-of-a-kind test range to support the testing, the deployment, the data analytics, and all of the opportunities that are likely to emerge out of this industry here. So while we're sitting on opposite sides today, this is one area where we're totally aligned, working together, and really view this as an opportunity for New York State to do in this particular sector what it has been able to achieve in building a Nano Canal corridor. You can build a UAS corridor as well, and you have really 2 regions here that really can be anchors for that particular initiative.
Great. And while we perhaps have not emphasized it, this kind of collaboration would also impress us as we look at the Upstate Revitalization efforts.